Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Keyhole Storytelling, the podcast that is inspired by my favorite quote in Doctor Strange: "You're a man looking at the world through a keyhole." And through this podcast series, I want to open up our keyhole through which we see the universe and try and find different ways of being. Today I have another new guest who is pretty much a stranger to me. We've never spoken before. We are connected on social media. I think must be because I used to be a filmmaker, and we've got a lot of media friends and radio presenters and actors and stuff in common. And it is Drew Campbell, and he is the third guy I know on the podcast. This is not because I'm not asking women, but by the nature of the podcast, I'm sliding into the DMs of strangers. And it seems to be the guys a bit more willing to respond to me. So I'm going to work on my pitch and my charm and hopefully get a couple of women on the show. So for now, Drew Campbell, give us a little introduction. Like, who are you being? What kind of life do you have?
Hi, I'm Drew Campbell, as you said. I'm a voice actor, audio editor, and a lot of things creative, really. I've ventured in, my background's music, being a musician, being in bands and what have you. And one of the things I always wanted to have was a studio. So 10 years ago, I built a studio. and then I sort of like, through filmmaking, funnily enough, I sort of slid into voiceovers. So that's been a bit of a journey. I think the two combine a bit, because it's there's a lot of musicality in voiceovers. So whether it be an audiobook, whatever it be, even on hold, sort of boring on hold sort of voice, there's still musicality in there. My life, I'm divorced, remarried.
Nice. Let's look at the other side of divorce.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. It was a bit of a horrible divorce, the last one, but I'd rather forget about that one. So that's my past, that's gone. But still in love, 20 years down the line, second marriage. Well, 16 years married, 20 years together. It's still good. So in that respect, I'm happy. Yeah, well, it's just one of those things, you think like you said, you think you found happiness, but then that wasn't happiness, was it? No, this is. But so I've had a lot of mental issues in the past, as a lot of people have. I've been through very dark times, especially after my first marriage and stuff. So I think I've done a lot of soul searching in the last 20 years, and found my way into a sort of like a spiritual path, as in I've touched on NLP, as in like Tony Robbins and what have you. And one of my one of my favourite speakers and person in all, who's not with us anymore, Wayne Dyer. His thoughts become things. Yes. So that's resonated with me so much. I mean, it's only now, the last few years, that I'll think back and I think, well, how true that is. Because even if you're going through the darkest times, it's things happen for a reason. I do believe that. You don't get where you are now if you didn't go through that hole you were in, or whatever it is.
That's absolutely. Honestly, it's crazy the amount of stuff you're saying that I'm like, oh, you are one of the most perfect guests for this. There's tons there to unpack. Yeah. I like what you said about the musicality of our voice.
Yes.
And I think communication is going to be one of those powerful things to have in the future, because everything's being automated. There's robots coming, and best skills we can have are the things that make us human, which is intelligence, empathy, persuasion. Yeah. One of the things I've really learned, and I try and get my students to do it, to help develop my voice, is to read children's books. And what I love about that, everyone knows what an owl sounds like if it could talk. They know what number 4 sound like if it made a noise. Like number 4 is like very stirred and building in.
Yes.
It's crazy. And so if anyone does want to get better at communicating, just read children's books and do all the voices.
Yeah, so well, that's what it was when I was with the children. I've got 3 children, and they're grown up now. But and that's my life revolved around the kids, and I was telling them stories, and I think that's where I got that from as well. I don't know, it's always been there, I think, and I always got into the characters and like I said, animals wherever they were, and it's it's quite. I can laugh about it now, but I remember my ex-wife saying to us, walking past the bedroom door when I was reading to them, "Will you stop showing off?"
That's it.
Yeah. So I'm glad that's gone. But yeah, so yeah, children's books. That I mean, I love reading children's books. I did, I think, an eight series of children's books early on in my voiceover career, and it was all I had to do with different animals. There was giraffes, there was lions, there was bees, even, and you know, you're in the children's world, and it's like it's the best place to be, I think. Like, you know.
So your part of your role is of a voice artist. Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah.
And so
Voice artist, voice actor, whichever you want to.
What I find interesting about that is it reminds me of a conversation I had on episode 2 with Scott, who's a photographer, and his filmmaker is the same.
Yeah.
That in filmmaking and photography, the easy access of technology and cameras meant that anyone could kind of pick up a camera.
Yeah, I did touch on that. Yeah, it's the same with the voiceover world, definitely. There's so many people just say, "Oh, hey, that's easy money." Yeah. You know what I mean? Not that easy. Come on.
I was looking at your website and the sheer level of like prep work you have to do to prepare for it, and then the technology that you need, and as well as all those experience to.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of it's yeah, you can be coached. You can be coached to be a voice actor and stuff, but there's something in it that makes you a voice actor as well. I think it's just like a filmmaker, like yourself. It's got to be in you. You've got to have that creative sort of mind, because you've got to learn to read copy.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be able to sight read. And especially with audiobooks are the least paid, still good money, but the least paid, but the most hard work, because you've got to prep the book. You've got to, there could be like, last few books I've done, they've been like maybe 18, 20 characters. So you've got to like research some characters. You've got to think of who they are, what's their problems, you know, what's their management, how they stand out. You know, it all makes it's so much involved. It's unbelievable.
I love what you said there about I think it needs to be in you, and it's something I've only really worked out for myself in recent years. And obviously, I teach teenagers, so 16 to 18. So a lot of what I do is, who are you? Like, really, not your parents' voice, not your brother's voice, not your friend's voice, your sister's voice, but not the media's voice, but who are you? And we'll get people who say, "Oh, I'm a photographer," and I'm like, "No, you have a camera, but you're not a photographer." Or you might be, "I'm a writer." It's like you write, but you're not a writer. In the same way that the other lecturer called Paddy, like, he's just a filmmaker. If he won the lottery, he would carry on making films. Like, he just can't not make films. So it's interesting you apply that to voice acting as well. It's really interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely. So like when I said I had a music background, actually it was I got into it was a guy called Chris Bishop back in 2000 and was it 2004? 2004, 2005, something like that. Anyways, he had a music site, so it was like there was a lot of musos going on there, and so he invited me on. He found us on Facebook or wherever it was, and then we got really good friends, and then it ended up like there was a group of us, all strangely enough, all similar minded, as in like as us two we're talking now, and then it just stemmed from there. And then I realized he was a filmmaker as well. And so that's where all that stemmed from. So I started off doing some voices for tracks, like music tracks, like little breaks in between and things like that. And thought it wasn't until 2012, I think, that Chris Bishop, he came to visit the Lake District. He lives in Kent. And so I went round with him filming, and then that's how, when I really, really realised how much was involved in filmmaking. Just taking the time to get that right shot, getting the time, wait till the weather's right, the sky's right, and what have you. And it was an amazing week. And then he put all the footage together, and he said, "Can you narrate over this for us?" Hang on. And then I thought, "No, it's all right, that." But yeah, it's just everything, filmmaking, music, everything, voiceovers, everything seems to be entwined, I think.
Well, the reason I reached out and asked you to come on the show is because you put on Instagram an image, and I think it just said "love over fear," and that resonates with me. So, because I'm a Star Wars fan anyway, I'm all about like Force and just moving it into everything I do. I just try and move things into the light a little bit more.
Yeah,
and it's becoming more common, but it's still quite rare for men to say something like that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It seems a bit of a you don't admit it half the time because it's like, I mean, I'm a very philosophical person, spiritually wise. So a lot of I've got a friend down in Reading, and we don't talk often. We've visited each other a few times, and it's just like I'm talking to you now, and we'd go off into a tangent. So it's like we end up like 4 hours on the phone, and we're just trying to sort life out, sort of thing,
Totally. And do you think, was there a point in your life in terms of your age where you started to get much more philosophical, or do you think you've always have been?
I think in a way I've always been, because especially I remember being at a young age, and I used to just do a lot of dreaming, well, as we all did when we were kids. But I remember looking out the window. I think it must have been about 6 or 7.
Wow.
And it was a starry night. I don't know why I remember this, but it's like I was sitting on my bed and looking out the window, and then I started thinking, there must be more. Sort of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, that's it. And I think back now, that's a bit of an odd thing for a child to start thinking, isn't it? But but I've always been like a creative at heart, whether it be music, whether it be art and stuff, And I always felt I was the odd one out. I wasn't into football. I was, I never liked that sort of thing. Through the years, people thought it was strange because I didn't like football. So I was always into the music. I was into film music, strangely enough, at a young age. Star Wars, in particular, in the 70s. Yeah. And I had the album. I used to listen to the album all day. Then I got into Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, and all that kind of thing. And it all resonated with me. So it's like, so I think answer that question, I think I have always been, but I've not realised how much until recent years.
That's interesting, because I found that when I was a teenager, all the things I was into, the questions I asked, I was exploring that world maybe through comics or games or whatever, and then kind of put away childish things. As you get older, we're like, oh, that's just being silly. This is the world. This is reality. And then when I got divorced and I lived alone again, I've regressed back to that person. I've went and bought comics again, and I'm asking the same questions, and I'm reading books on quantum physics. And what I love is everything I'm reading. Well, firstly, quantum physicists don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, I don't either, but I find it really, really interesting. I mean, a lot of it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, if you know what I mean.
And they'll argue. I listened to other podcasts, the Infinite Monkey Page, and 2 of them were disagreeing, like high-level physicists would disagree. Yeah. They were like, well, we know the past happened because we can see the evidence of it. Yeah. That doesn't mean, and we can't change the past, but that doesn't mean that the future isn't predetermined. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. So then you start to question, do we have free will? Because we have no free will in the past now, if we think back. Yeah. So then, which I'm kind of hoping, everyone's like, oh no, I'd hate it if we don't have free will. I'm hoping we don't have free will, so I don't have to take responsibility for the mess I have in my life. Well, that's just the part I was playing in that movie.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I'd like to say I made a mess of my life, but which I probably did. But it's a crazy thing. But I did free will. I actually did a narration for a video called Free Will,
Nice.
quite a few years ago, and it was a bit quite depressing actually. So and I think, and that's what you were saying. Then, if we don't have free will, and I'm thinking, I hope Sonny that doesn't sound very good. But yeah,
that's the biggest advice I kind of give to anyone who's struggling is honestly, this isn't reality. Like, and we can create our own realities, and everyone lives in their own reality.
True. I absolutely. I mean, it's took me a lot of years to think that, believe that. It's, you know, and when you get into depressive places, it's hard to think that.
Yeah.
So hard. It's but it is. Mind's a weird thing. It plays so many tricks on you. As you should know, but
and there's a huge overlap that I found, because everyone really wants to put everyone in a pigeonhole and just be, no, this is it. And they want to put things in pigeonholes. And I think it's almost like things have ego almost. But that's not the way it is. Like, what I'm finding is that physics and quantum physics overlaps with philosophy, particularly Stoic philosophy, which I like. And you like in the book, 7 Brief Lessons on Physics, he mentions the word philosophy or philosophers a ton, because philosophers are like, what is the meaning of life? And physicists are like, how do we prove the meaning of life?
Exactly. Yeah. It's philosophers. It's just a lot of questioning things, you know. It's
physicists, and then that overlaps with psychology, and psychologists will say they barely understand 2% of how the brain works. Like, we don't understand it. And then it overlaps with more like woo-woo things like neurolinguistic programming, and that leads into like magic or energy work. And what I love about that, and this was a big realization for me, is that anxiety and depression are in my head. So my anxiety is my imagination. So if I can weaponize my imagination, I can deal with anxiety. So whether you have faith and you believe Jesus is walking next to you, if you believe that, you will feel stronger and happier. If you want a big, giant dire wolf next to you to make you feel stronger, you want to imagine fairies flying around. It doesn't matter. Because your imagination can impact you. I think of...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If I think of something happening to my daughter, I cry. But it's not real.
Yeah, it's like, I remember me saying that. I remember my daughter's, my youngest daughter, she split up with a boyfriend, and this was when she was 17, and she was in tears. Then I was going as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I mean, I can cry at a drop of a hat at times. You know what I mean? It's just because of the empathic sort of side of us. It's.
Do you find you cry more now you're getting older?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I was on a podcast called Behind the Noise, and Mark, the host, was saying he cries all the time now, and I can't watch Frozen and Frozen 2, like kids Disney films with my daughter, because I'm just in tears.
Bambi still gets me in mind for Frozen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's. I mean, it's usual thing. Like if I'm sitting watching a film with my wife, it's all right, but sort of thing. But you know, but now I used to do that, but now it's just like, you crying? Yeah,
yeah, quite right. And
there's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, I used to think there was, you know, but I think I got from my last marriage and stuff, like, you know what I mean? You're weak and all that kind of thing, but you're not. Yeah. Oh, look, I won't go into that, but it's you know, that kind of thing. You know, it's like it puts you down.
And we're going back to our kids. My daughter's 4, so she started school, and I see a lot less, obviously. And I can't control the programming that she's getting. So like, she came back from school the other day, and she said, "I don't cry anymore. I'm a big girl." And I'm like, where the hell did that?
Oh no!
Get into that, and so I'm quite open. I'll cry in front of her and to say it's okay. And I also fail a lot, which has now become a joke, because I'm just like, oh, look, Daddy got it wrong. She'd be like, try again, Daddy. And then that's turned into, Daddy's so stupid.
I've had that plenty of time,
I'm just trying to be vulnerable.
Yeah. But I mean, I've got 3 grandchildren now, believe it or not. And, no, it starts again. It's like, you know, it's Tommy, he's the second eldest, and he's very emotional. and you, you'll get upset over the slightest thing, and and that kind of upsets me as well. But it's like, if yeah, so it's like they're all three different things that you got. Bonnie's quite loud. She's the youngest one. She's 5 years old, and then I've got Dylan. He's the cool dude, sort of thing. Three totally different characters.
I'm always intrigued by that in terms of, obviously in filmmaking, we think carefully about naming the character because it creates, it does that.
Yeah.
It's why you get so many Jacks or Jameses that use this. It's a hero name. That's what you're called. And so I wonder, clearly Dylan would be laid back and cool.
Yeah. I wonder where you get that from.
Yeah. So I'm always curious as to whether changing our name, whether it's kind of a woo-woo kind of numerology thing, that the name you get dictates your character, or because then I wonder what happens when it was much more common when women change their names when they got married, and whether that changes their character, and how people are going to expect. I don't like the name Darren. I very nearly changed it to Jack, because Darren's not a cool guy. Darren's not the hero.
Not wrong with Darren. Well, mine. I call myself Drew Campbell. My real name's Andrew. Yeah, but Drew came from back in musical, when the music mid 2000s, and I thought it would look cooler to be called Drew online. So I think that was like I was Drew Campbell, the singer, guitarist sort of thing, and then it just manifested into the voiceovers and things, and so everyone knows me as Drew. So
having so many kids as well, I'm curious if you've had some of the similar experiences to me, that when they're young, it really feels like they see stuff in the room that's not there. And I've definitely had experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. God, yes. I've had quite a few experiences like that. It's, you know, I think it's because they're that open.
Yeah.
You know, nothing's sort of like, nothing's closed to them, if you know what I mean. And yeah, it's, I think Andrew, my eldest boy, he's 31. He used to scare me a lot of times, or reading him a story, but look over my shoulder and I'm going, that's that thing, you know. But yeah,
people with animals will have the same sense, and I find this fascinating because we've got 5 senses, and we see the world the way we do, but that doesn't mean that there's not other things that we just can't see.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely a strong believer in that. Yeah, it's I mean, someone touched on it a bit ago. We're all coexisting, almost like different realities sort of coexisting together. So that's why I sort of like think about the spirit world, and I think, well, maybe they're there, but we just can't see them.
Yeah,
it's beyond, like, just like you can hear a dog whistle, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly right. That's a really good example. And I think about that in terms of, like, I was just playing Warzone, and I had a gun that had like thermal imaging, and said, well, I can't see thermal imaging, but that doesn't mean that that way of that vision doesn't exist. I'm curious. I've started, mainly because I'm a media lecturer, I try and keep up to date with different social media. So I'm on TikTok, just checking around, and there's a lot. And what I'm seeing is a couple of good things. Lots of young people getting very good at like communicating, performing, singing, dancing. Like, from what I can see, their emotional intelligence is growing because they're dealing with trolls really well. But I also followed today a girl who probably under 20, who is just talking about how she sees dead people, and she's just telling all these stories. People are asking her questions, being like, "Really, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, this is how it feels. This is what it looks like." And who am I to say that she's lying? I remember, years ago, I did a search on LinkedIn just for exorcists, and there's like 100 of them in America, a Catholic exorcist going around fighting the devil. It's the world isn't what we think it is, and I just think we.
Oh no, not. There's someone controlling it all somewhere. I keep on referring back to the Matrix. You know, it's like, are we in a Matrix? Like Elon Musk, he thinks it was 80% or something.
He does, 80%.
And he actually strongly believes that.
And it feels it because, again, going back to the science, they say that it feels that the universe only exists when you look at it or interact with it. And if you're not looking at it or interacting with it, the evidence seems to be it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Mm.
And I think I've spoken about on another podcast, like with color. Like color doesn't really exist. That's just the way we perceive it right now.
We perceive things. Yeah.
And if we're not looking at grass, grass isn't green.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's the frustrating thing with all this is we have all these questions. We can't really prove anything yet.
Oh no! I mean, everything's a theory.
Yeah.
Gravity is just a theory.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's all down to belief, really, isn't it?
And that's why everyone can create their own reality. Like you get to choose.
Yeah, definitely.
Like what God you believe in. You get to choose how you want to perceive that. You get to choose if you want to see the world as a positive place. It's just, and that's the other thing I would say to people who struggle with mental health: don't let anyone judge your coping mechanisms, and be as childlike as you need. Like,
oh, definitely. I mean, I'm still a kid. I'm 52. I'm still a kid.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember another back from when I was with my first wife. I was playing with my children, and just play fighting and stuff. All three of them were on top of us, playing away, and she turns out and says, "Stop being childish."
What's horrible about that is I need to find the study again because it's NASA.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek maybe talks about it, but if you do, it's like there's some kind of like NASA astronaut creativity test or something, and 5-year-olds nail it, and the more they go through school, the less able they get to nail it because their creativity and their playfulness and curiosity is killed. And so saying to someone, "Don't be childish," is like, what else is the point of being here? Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still. I mean, with my studio, I'm just like when I go into like a music shop, I'm like kidding a little toy shop sort of thing. So I'm still childlike that way. It's like I've got to have my gadgets and things. I just bought myself a drone as well. So
oh, nice.
It's just a little Mavic Mini. But it's something I want to eventually use for content creation. I mean, it just like I started making my own music videos as well in the back end of 2000, nearly 2001. So that was interesting. Just using a little instant camera.
I saw your video. I've got the song in my head. I can't remember what it's called. It's the one you shot in Las Vegas and Cumbria and Carlisle.
Oh yeah, that was my my wedding at Las Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
My wife now. That was it was, and the lad in there, that's my nephew Ben. He's he's very philosophical as well. So yeah, I enjoy that kind of thing. Anything creative, I just throw myself in. It keeps me sane, sort of thing.
In terms of marriage, it's quite funny because we've got a family WhatsApp, and it was my parents' 46th wedding anniversary, and my mum was like, "Oh, 46, where does the time go?" And I was like, "No." I was messing around. I was like, "No, I'm 43. I was 43 in May." And then everyone kind of chimes in and says, "Oh, congratulations, really good, well done, you." And I'm like, "Divorce is good too." And then my brother was like, "Well done, Darren, coming up a year now, I think." And what I'm curious about is, like, statistically, I'd have to check, but it's like 80-90% of marriages that start before you're 30 end in divorce. Like, I'm fascinated by you because right now I'm a skeptic on marriage. Like, I'm just like, no, people change too much. Life is too dynamic. You won't stay the same. And we live longer and we're not as codependent as we are. And yet you're still a believer.
Yeah, it's I got first married at 21. I was married. I'd been going out with her, just turned 19 or something. And so my first boy was born in 1989. And then it was a 10-year marriage. I don't know how it lasted that long, but and I wasn't planning to get married again. It was, I thought it's not for me anymore, sort of thing. And it just kind of happened. I think my present wife, I knew her for 9 years previously. We were friends.
Okay.
We always uh, uh, talk to each other and stuff like that kind of thing, about life and things like that kind of thing, and what's going on. Oh, she's been a pain in the bum again, sort of thing,
Right.
kind of thing. So it just sort of like happened.
But the thing,
Yeah.
what I like is it's not so much that it kind of happens. Saying, okay, would I get married? Okay, maybe for like legal reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
But it'd probably be a registry office. You're like, no, we're going to go to Vegas.
Well, that was weird, that one, because it was we'd been together for 4 years, so it was like we're thinking about getting married, and thought we'd love to get married in Paris. But then we inquired about that, and then it turned out you had to be in Paris for a month before you could actually you can review your vows there, but you couldn't actually get married there straight away. So that, and it was a travel agent said, "What about Vegas?" I'm going, "I'm not getting married by Elvis," sort of thing. And yeah, and it turned out that the guy who married us was he was French.
Wow. My ex has been to Vegas, and it feels like, I think, like, I've been to France, I haven't been to Paris, but a lot of the European towns kind of feel like places in England a lot of the time that you wouldn't necessarily know you're somewhere else. In Vegas, it feels like you've just gone on a Technicolor trip. Is that what
it's like? Vegas is something.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I guess you'd recognize the stuff from the movies and things, wouldn't you? You'd just be like, oh, that's that hotel. And
yeah, like the Bellagio, went in the Bellagio and stuff. That was what was that film again? Bellagio.
I don't know.
I can't remember. It was a film in Bellagio. Yeah. So yeah, and I did see Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas there as well.
Catherine and Michael are interesting because they have a big age difference. So
yeah,
30 years maybe
something like that. Yeah.
So I'm really curious about this because I'm on dating apps. Still some hope in my life, I guess, even though we're in a pandemic. And I live in the north of England in Cumbria, and I'm trying to find women near me, and I just have to keep opening up the miles or opening up the age. And I'm just curious, was there an age difference between you and any of your wives?
Well, I was 2 years older than my first wife. Okay. Christine, my present wife, she's 6 years older than me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So a bit of age gap, not much, but it's still.
Right. Sure. And does that have any kind of dynamic in terms of, because the joke for me is my wife was younger than me, like 10, 11.
Yeah.
And basically because we matched maturity levels. She eventually passed me by. So that kind of worked out. But
yeah, I mean, I think with Christine, she's I think her mind's less childlike, so it keeps us sort of balanced.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. She keeps me in line. No, you can't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
But it stops from going too far over the line, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, we work together. Basically, it's been a journey, put it that way. Sure. The start of the journey, we've had a lot of ups and downs, like as in getting custody. My 3 children was one of them, and so she had to quit work and then look after my children while I was working. And so in that respect, I think it strengthened us, sort of thing.
How did you find the divorce process? Because there's that group, isn't there? Fathers for Justice. Did you find it's interesting? You had to fight for custody.
I did a lot of fighting because won't go into too much detail, but I did a lot of fighting to try, because I wasn't happy with where my children were, and then it happened. I think it was forced upon us, really, because the police took them from their home, and it was like, I think it was New Year's Eve one year, and they come to our house, and that was it. And they didn't want to go back, so that's when I fought for custody for them, which I got. no problem.
Yeah.
And but then eventually they wanted to go back because things had changed and stuff. But you know, they got that age where they could make their own decisions and stuff. I wasn't going to force the issue. There's no point.
Yeah.
Because you just end up getting hated in the long run. But yeah, so yeah, this is the divorce itself. You know, like because I was in a better place then. I wasn't. I was with my present wife. It was. I was just glad to get it over with.
Yeah, totally.
And once I got that paper, that was it. It was like I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's a weird process because it does, even though our divorce is really amicable, it still feels adversarial in that, you know, friends are saying, oh, make sure you get what's rightfully yours, make sure you do this, get the lawyers involved. And then she's got to write, in order to get the divorce, she had to write a statement that absolutely annihilated me. And she like called me, she was like, look, you're going to hate reading this, but I've got to make you sound like bad so that we can get a divorce. And it's not that she lied. I mean, the stuff was true, but I was like, you've made it. That's a bit of a kicking I'm having.
Yeah, it's not. Whatever way you look at it, it's not a great process. It doesn't matter whether it's amicable or not. It's when the lawyers get involved. That's it, you see. So it's.
What I was shocked at as well, because it had been a while, is how expensive it is to live on your own. That was setting up on my own again. Things have changed. I was single last.
Yeah. Yeah. I was lucky in that respect because my parents were still alive back then, and I sort of moved in with them, and I was a bit of a depressive state when I moved in with them, so I feel sorry for them for that time. But yeah, and then me and Christine sort of got together, and then we set up a home together after that. Rented the flat. Then we moved out the flat to get a council house. We bought the council house.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm still here now, so that's good.
Have you lived in Cumbria all your life?
Yes, I have. Carlisle born and bred.
Nice.
I lived in Maryport for 2 years. It's a good place to go and see the docks and that.
Okay.
Because it was weird.
Why did you go to Maryport? Was that for work?
For work, yeah. Well, it's just because of I found a good deal on a house in Maryport.
Yeah. So is Maryport kind of like Barrow and Whitehaven in that it's kind of a bit of a what's the best way of putting it? A lower socioeconomic, and so the house. Yeah,
there was a lot of tracksuits getting worn there, and not that there's nothing wrong with tracksuits.
No, sure.
But because the house I was at the back, there was the street behind us. It was nicknamed Beirut.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why the house was cheap, I think. And I used to find syringes in the drain outside and things. So it wasn't a very nice place, really. But don't get me wrong, there was nice parts as well. You know, down the main centre, that's quite a nice area. But I would never, by choice, live there again.
Yeah, totally. It's one of those things that it's interesting for me because I think living in that environment kind of hardens you maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Not being. After the divorce, I moved to a place on just basically on Botchgate, so like nightclub road.
Yeah.
And in the apartment complex I was in, there was like sex workers and drug dealers and music throughout the night.
So whereabouts in Botchgate was that?
It was the Picture House. You know the one.
There used to be the studio, the cinema studios 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
I used to know the projections in there. It was so as a kid. That's where the films. I'm going around in circles here, aren't
I? Totally, but
it's because from a very young age, he was like a friend of the family, and he worked in there when it was a theatre, and then he became the projectionist after that, and I used to get to go into the projection room and watch him splice the films together and things like that. That's back
when it was magic, right? When you actually...
It was magic. Oh, it was unbelievable. Brilliant memories. And one time he took us up into the loft to show us what there was memorabilia up there. And when it was a theatre, and he took us behind the screen, and the stage door with the star on it was still there.
Yeah, yeah.
And he went in there, said Charlie Chaplin was in here, Roland Hardy was in here, and there was like old cinema posters, and they must have been worth a fortune. Cinema posters there, those theatre posters, and I got some old Disney posters, and they would have been worth a fortune if my mum hadn't pasted them to the wall.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. It's I used to run a cinema, and so when I was managing it, it was a 35 mil, and you got together, and it was digital. And that digital, it's just it's not really, you don't need projections anymore. It's just like a editing software. You just drag and drop it on.
It's crazy. Technology. I mean, you said touched on technology. It's for like everyone can be a voice artist now. You can get a mic for less than 100 quid. You can get mine's quite expensive, the stuff I've got now, but it's so easy to set up. But one thing they don't think about is the recording space. I mean, this has took me years to get to where I want it to be, the acoustics and what have you. And I've recently, because of the lockdown, there's been loads of voice artists, well-known voice artists as well, that haven't had a recording space. So they're using like a cupboard or it was a wardrobe with clothes around them, sort of thing. And I've heard commercials on the radio. I'm thinking, I can hear that slight echo there, sort of thing. You know what I mean? You can tell if you've got the ear for it. You can tell, But but like I say, like anything, it's something that. I mean, I honed a lot of skills in the studio, editing and multi-tracking and things like that through the music and things. So it's something I've always enjoyed doing. So it's
superb. And it's interesting. I think obviously a lot of things are going to change because of the pandemic. I've seen that Cineworld is closing, and View's going to cut this out. So like the projectionists just became extinct. I think cinemas are in danger. Theaters are in danger.
It's really sad. It really is sad. I mean, theaters as well. A lot of theaters are suffering. The arts are suffering in general. The arts and the creative sector.
I try to keep. My friend James always. I think it's called Occam's razor, which is the most likely thing is probably the thing. Because I'll go off on like conspiracy theories, and it's like, is it that, or is the government just incompetent? And
I'm on that with that. It's like, and then I'm thinking, surely they can't be that incompetent.
But that's how I feel. But then I look at movies like sci-fi movies, like whether it's Equilibrium or even totalitarian governments in real life. And one of the first things they do is they come after the arts, because the arts can inspire and lift up.
Exactly. But that's what you just touching on that. It's like, that's what I'm seeing now. Anything in that involves actually enjoying something, or the arts, it's getting crushed.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking, really. But like you say, I mean, it's hard to not think worst case scenario, isn't it?
And it's also hard because they've lessened the value of the arts in schools anyway. They've done that for years. Even though tons of research, it says, for example, if you do music classes, you will do better at maths. And it's something to do with, again, how the brain works, but we don't know. Same thing is, if you do a maths test whilst jumping on the trampoline, you'll perform better because your whole body is kind of engaged. It's not... One of the hard things I find with remote teaching is I'm just sat here looking at a screen, and
it's not the same. It isn't the same.
It's when I teach, it's a transfer of energy. Like I need to be in the room. I bounce around. I use my voice. I encourage people. This is, I'm in terms of conspiracy, I'm worried for the future, and I'm seeing a lot of doctors get together and say, look, we're going to have a generation of kids who are going to have much less economic success. They're going to have much more addictive and risk-taking behavior. They're going to be much more lonely. We're going to have much more, even more mental health issues than we've got already. And we've got tons already.
It's unbelievable. I mean, there's a lot of, I tend not to watch the news anymore.
No, good.
No, far too depressing,
Yeah.
especially the weekly meetings or whatever they do.
And they're lying.
They're just like, I can't look at it. It just, I can feel myself getting angry just watching it, so I don't bother. And the media, I don't listen to the media because there's so much in the media that's not. They don't show the full picture to start off with.
No,
you know.
And even if it's just a change of language, like we're seeing around all these cases with paedophilia, they'll be like, "Oh, he had sex with a minor or a young adult." It's like, no, he raped a kid. Like, use the right language. You're trying to soften it. Don't do that. And but we're seeing that more and more because they are all. And I don't know what to believe. And I had a call on Facebook, and I got rid of like 150 people who were just a bit more toxic than the others. I'm still connected to like Trump supporters, but it's because they're sharing a little bit more educated content. Like this is my reasoning. I'm like, okay, but I don't like. There's this massive, I guess, theory that Trump is actually a genius and he's bringing down this kind of Illuminati type thing behind the scenes. And once he's done, we're going to have like the cure for cancer and no taxes and stuff. And they really, that's their reality. They fully believe that that's happening. That he's genuinely going to save the planet. And
yeah, it does sound right, but you don't know. It's, I mean, I know Trump seems to like just say what he wants.
Yeah.
But he's not the someone I would call a president sort of thing.
No. That gets really interesting because that becomes around leadership and authority. Like I was talking about this recently to someone that he's been mocked for the way he stands. Like you get judged on being a leader by the way you speak and
that's what was wrong with what Jeremy Corbyn, because the way he dressed and what have you, and which is wrong, and
particularly when most people want something different. They want like a different type of government. And so why, and I have an issue with it anyway. I really don't like wearing ties. Partly I use one martial arts studio and I just see it as a self-defense. Like, why would I give someone the ability to strike over?
It's like a uniform. Yeah.
And I find that crazy. And even that indoctrination at school, like we've had to buy Evie a ton of different uniforms for different days. And they're like, and the only good reason for having a uniform that I can see is if they're not in school, if they didn't go to school, they're easily identifiable as to where they should be. So that's good. But then they'll say, oh, but a uniform's good because it stops bullying. No, it doesn't. You haven't got rid of bullying. It's still there. And also, if you're punishing the child that's being bullied for what they wear, causing the bullying, that's victim shaming. So what are you doing? Stop the bullying. Let kids wear what they want. Yes. We had this in teaching as well. Like I'm not allowed to wear jeans because if I wear jeans, it's unprofessional. And
well, my ex-teacher from junior school, he wore jeans, and he was a spitting image of John Lennon.
Oh wow!
Yeah, spitting image of John Lennon, and I remember one of our lessons this is junior school. One of them, he brought his guitar in, so he had a little singing and stuff with the guitar and that. And then another one, he brought the album for us to study, Tubular Bells.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. So definitely one of my favourite teachers from way back when. Yeah. And plus he also listened as well.
Yeah. But what's frustrating is if I'm a filmmaker, I'll wear jeans and a t-shirt. Or whatever. If Zuckerberg wears jeans, Steve Jobs used to wear jeans and a turtleneck. It's like, it just feels like the world takes a while to catch up with where things are going.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's. I mean, the only time I wear a suit and tie is if I go to a wedding or a funeral or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not my thing. Even if I have to wear like a blazer jacket or whatever, I'll just have my shirt open, sort of thing like that.
I am a bit torn though. RuPaul says if you want money, wear a suit, and he's obviously very successful. And I think, should I get a suit? Would I have like more success if I wore a suit? But it just wouldn't be authentic. That's not the character I'm playing, right? That's
to me, that's like selling out. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like you're bowing down to the elite sort of thing.
I had my friend Tom, who went to uni with, once got a job at Waterstone's bookstore, and he got the interview, went in the first day, and I'm like, okay, here's your tie, and he was like, I have to wear a tie. And they're like, yeah, it's part of the uniform. He's like, okay, I don't want this job, and just dropped the tie and walked out. I was like, I was like, what a flex! Just it represented everything that was wrong with the world.
Yeah. Well, that's been true to yourself. It's which a lot of people aren't in work scenarios or whatever, you know.
Being true to yourself, and that's exactly right. And there's an element of like ego and competition. So people say that certain careers are bad, but I think if it's who you are, if that's your why, like man's search for meaning. Like I'm struggling at the moment because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I know I like this, and I know I like knowing information. I know I like putting people up. But
I'm very much on the same lines. It's like, you know, I'm starting to think, because I've got that much things going on. I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I'm a musician, singer, voice actor, and what have you. And you know, it's like, do I combine all these, or do I do one or the other? And it's because I love everything, you know. So I think that's my. I think I speak for most creative minds. Like I find it hard to sleep at night because my brain's got sort of thing and things like that, you know.
Yeah, I get that, but then I wake up and I don't do the thing. I'm like,
well, that's the problem. That is the problem. I mean, that's why I'm going through a lot of. I'm doing some, like I said, I'm Fiona McGuire, the energy coaching and stuff. That I mean, I've just had 3 sessions so far. But
so what does that mean? What does an energy coach do?
Yeah, well, she reads energy, and she was, even before she knew us, she read me energy, and she was bang on. You know, she could see that I was exploding, sort of thing. And yeah, it's just it's similar to a lot of the techniques, similar to NLP. Things like imagining certain scenarios in your head. Just say like there's a gold ball above you, and you want to think about other people's energies that you're taking on. You can just shove them into that gold ball, sort of thing, and that kind of, or put it in a rocket and go, it's gone, sort of thing. But it's just like almost like trying to like reset your mind, sort of thing. And it's a bit like, with energy, it's like it wasn't until I really understood it when Fiona come on the board, that it was I was taking on so much energy that I didn't realize it. You know, it's like, even from my wife, if she's having a bad time, I will be taking that energy on, you know, and it's not helping the situation, you know. So it's so it's interesting.
I think that's I think of communication as like a glass of water, and so like if you're passing me a glass of water that's kind of red, because so it's not entirely clear what you mean when you talk to someone, because words are a terrible way to communicate. So my job is to try and get the glass to go clear by asking questions and not adding my opinion. I think that's the same with my mind. Like I picture it as a lake surrounded by a forest, and my job is to try and get the lake as clear and still as possible. And when I can do that, everything is like it's like ego almost disappears. I'm just in the moment, and I'm in flow state, and the whole world all the time is shoving junk in that lake. It's creating ripples, and if I'm not careful, it gets really, really bad.
That's the problem with what's going on now, because everyone's in fear mode, and that's the worst thing to be. I mean, that's all illnesses, as far as I'm concerned. All illnesses, a lot of it comes from all the fear and all the stress.
Absolutely right.
Get rid of all that. If you can get rid of all that, you know, it's going to diminish a lot of ailments and what have you.
That's it. And if you're stressed or you have struggling with mental health, you're then more prone to illnesses anyway. You're
exactly
getting a cold or getting the flu. It's crazy. And I don't know, you know, whether a lot of this stuff we said is true, but the thing I always just recommend people do is just go play, go see what happens, go, you know, imagine.
It's just do it. It's like instead of like, I've done a lot of time over the years waiting for something creative to happen.
Yeah.
Just go and do it. Fail. Just, if it fails, it doesn't matter. You do something else. You know,
and do it again. And that's the
again,
thing.
yeah.
When people think about, let's say, whether it's like law of attraction or vision board or even just magic. The magic's doesn't work. I was like, have you tried it? They're like, well, no. I was like, well, go try it. And then they say, I tried it once, it didn't work. I was like, great. I once tried to cook spaghetti bolognese and it didn't work. It doesn't mean you can't cook spaghetti bolognese. It means I did it wrong.
Yeah.
So I just think, and I find the more I use my imagination, the more it defaults to what I need it to do. So even in dreams, so what do I mean by that? How can I put it to better words? It's kind of like if you really program yourself with your values and beliefs, even when you're blackout drunk, your drunken version of yourself will still do what's right because the program is strong.
Yes, yeah, it's your subconscious programming. Yeah, just same as driving.
Yeah.
If you get home and then you think, no, how did I get here? It's just automatic, you know.
And that after years of kind of studying this, that my breakthrough happened in December. So when depression or anxiety sneaks in, I've got like automated defenses now that pop up. And I'm programming my daughter I only put her to bed twice a week. And as I'm putting her to bed, I say, you're surrounded in love, you're surrounded in white light. And now she says it. She's like, I'm surrounded in white light. Yeah, you are. And I think like anyone listening, just kind of sit and breathe for a moment. Just imagine yourself surrounded in white light. And tell me that doesn't have an impact.
Yeah. I mean, you see, I was lucky as a child, having such. My mother was an artist, and my family was musical as well. My uncles and all that. So I was surrounded by creativity, anyways. And I never had any. There was never any negativity as such. You know, as in some families, or like it's saying, like, "Oh, you can't do that," sort of thing. I was just let to do it, sort of thing, you know.
And like this goes back to one of the Stoic philosophers, I don't know who, Aristotle or Socrates, complained that kids were spending too much time writing things down and they weren't going to remember poetry or speeches or whatever. And they stayed up late and they made too much noise. And the issues with young people and the older generation have always been the same, and yet we don't learn. And so we're seeing it now with whether they're using Snapchat or TikTok, parents being like, oh no, don't go on that. But that's where their life is. That's where their reality is. And they can make money doing those things. Same with gaming. Oh, you're not ever going to make any money gaming. They will if they work out how to do that.
Exactly. I mean, as a gaming, I mean, I do voices for games as well. And so I get to speak to a lot of game devs. And, you know, it's this thing where it's like, it's not a real job, sort of thing, but it is. I mean, the gaming industry, for a start off, that's it's bigger than the movie and the music industry put together.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5's budget was insane. I can't remember. I'm sure it was hundreds of millions. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So apparently, like 70% of people get imposter syndrome. I certainly get it because I feel.
Oh, I do as well. Yeah, definitely.
Because it feels, when you like the thing you do, it feels like it has less worth somehow. Or that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's stupid, you know. It's a stupid way to think, but it's. I mean, what's wrong with getting paid doing what you like doing?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong at all, you know. It's better than getting paid for hating something, isn't it?
Yeah, but then it feels
then all you're doing is just the money, and that's it. And you wishing your life away, basically.
Yeah. And that's another kind of reality thing that obviously my students, I'll say, how many days a week do you want to work when you leave school? You know, you have to work 5. No, you don't. I work 3. Like, I struggle a bit, but I work 3 days a week. My life is quite good. It's I get
I mean, there's a life-work balance there, you know what I mean? It's too many people over the years that I'm doing overtime because I need this from that, I need the other, and they're working like 6. My neighbour, he works 7 days a week. I mean, come on.
He does?
I don't think he does. No, and so it's like, what's the point in that? You know, I'd rather not work at all than having to work 7 days a week.
Yeah,
you know.
But then again, it took me decades to work out my relationship with money.
Yeah, I'm still working it out.
It's all the programming. It depends what you program with.
Yeah,
Money is the root of all evil, so you get rid of money, or you don't want to win.
exactly. That's what holds you back, because you, and plus there's also the guilt behind it as well, that you don't realize you've got.
Yeah.
As in, like with me, it's like I'll be in my studio doing work that I'm getting paid for, but I feel guilty for doing it because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
makes sense. Not really.
No, not at all. So yeah, that's one of my biggest frustrations, I think. So the other thing is, money doesn't grow on trees, so then you think money is
yeah.
everywhere. Oh.
Yeah, it's you've got, like, with NLP, you've got to flip that, haven't you?
Yeah,
you're sort of flipping it.
Yeah, that's why I really love. I love deceit and it kind of comes from NLP, this communication model where we generalize, distort, and delete information. And so a lot of the time we're not even living in a reality. We've created a fabrication that just isn't true. So something people will say is, there's no jobs out there. And so their reticular activating system, their core programming switches, and it says, oh, there's no jobs. So it starts deleting jobs. Like the brain just doesn't focus on them because it's been told there's no jobs. And I'm on LinkedIn. I get emails every week with, hey, these are jobs you might like. Like, they're there. But you've got to...
Oh, yeah.
It's like when you first buy a new car, and then on the way home, there's a million of them on the street. It's like, when did everyone get the same car as me? But you start picking it out now, right?
Yeah, it's what you think about the most comes into your reality, basically.
That's it. And it sounds, I find this funny. There's this thing called the G.I. Joe fallacy. And at the end of the G.I. Joe cartoon, he would say, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. I mean, knowing is not half the battle. We all know how to be healthy. We all know how to be successful. We all technically know how to be happy, but we don't do it. Like, I know, like, having a morning mantra would be really good for me. Just a little, like, Darren, you're successful and energetic or whatever.
Yeah.
Really good. And I don't do it.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah, the thing is, it's certain things, if you did do like that, that would help. But it's just like, as in doing it, doing it's half the battle. I mean, with this, Fiona, I do a thing called grounding. Have you ever done that before? And you just one with yourself, sort of thing.
Sure.
Kind of thing. And it sounded crazy to me at first, but it works. It's sort of like you saying the water being calm. That's what it is. Kind of thing.
One of the things is, I think it's in a book, I can't remember, it's a Chaos Magic book, and one of the things he talks about, might be Phil Heim, is how to invoke Ganesh, the Indian elephant god. So you ground yourself and you breathe, and then I think you imagine the universe in your stomach, and then it kind of grows, and gradually you just imagine yourself like growing the elephant ears and the trunk. And have you ever seen like baby elephants where they do that head loll thing?
Yeah.
So you just start doing that, and you just get the giggles, and you just happier because.
Yeah.
So either that's my imagination, either way I'm feeling happy, or that's really what invoking a god means. That's what it is. And you can do that with that kind of pop culture as well. You can do that with anyone fictional, because this also, man, we can go on a whole tangent, but it goes back to like Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey and Jung and the archetypes, and you can take on different archetypes or different. It's not being inauthentic. I just think we've got a million masks in ourselves. And
definitely.
I can be like teacher Darren. I can be dad Darren. I can be like lover Darren, and I get to choose who I'm going to be. Like a computer game, and you can choose which character. Okay, who do I need to be today? And how can I act as that person? And then with NLP, that's how you get anchors. So you might like put a jacket, and that become. Some people would use a suit, for example, going back to that. But put the suit on, then they become like the grown-up version of themselves. I imagine people are the same when they put their uniform on. My brothers, Royal Marine, is definitely the same when they put the green beret on. Just all of a sudden they start standing a little bit taller. So I try to keep these as close to I can as I can to an hour, because I understand that people haven't got time. And everyone's like, oh, but Joe Rogan does 3 hours. I'm not Joe Rogan. No one's listening.
We probably could do 3 hours where we're going.
Yeah, totally. It's been a delight. So We've talked about a great range of topics, but what do you think about the universe? Do you think there's a God? Do you think there's life after death? Like, where are you on that?
Well, life after death. I don't think. I think we're all energy, basically. But I don't think I personally don't think we die. We're just going into another dimension, sort of thing.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I think, anyway.
Did-
It took me a while to think like that. But it's a nicer than my brother's totally different than me. He thinks once you're dead, that's it, done. So that's not fun. But I think the universe is everything that is. It's just it's all. I think we've covered a lot of that now, haven't we? Yeah. So it's just everything that can be is.
As I've listened to, like, mainly quantum physicists and things, I'm getting to the point where I do think there was life after, or there was existence after death. What I like, there's a guy called Grant Morrison, he's a comic book artist, and he's actually did a new Brave New World show that's coming out.
Right.
I think he wrote it. Anyway, and he says that, so we're fourth dimensional beings, or three-dimensional beings in the fourth dimension. So if we talk about that as time. So why did we choose to come into the third dimension and experience time? And the only reason you would experience time is in order to grow and age. So if we die, we go outside of the time dimension, and then we become, but we can only go there when we've grown into the thing we need to be there, which is why I think there might be past lives, because it might take some people a couple, I think I'm probably on, I think maybe my fourth one or something, but I feel like I'm getting closer each time to
that. I totally relate to that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What a positive chap you are. That's good. That's good. And we're old, so we're wise men now. So
yeah. I mean, some people might differ, but
I think I'm always intrigued when people have had that epiphany when it's later on. Like,
I mean, I kind of wish I had it earlier, but it wasn't the right time. Yeah, it's like everything happens at the right time for you. I think that, definitely. It's I mean, because if I'd done something then, well, this wouldn't have happened, you know.
Yeah. That's where I am now. Like, I actually absolutely get what you're saying. Like, me kind of I got postnatal depression when my daughter was born. We went through divorce. We did a lot of work with counselors, and, you know, I did the NLP. And if we hadn't done that, I don't think we would have dealt with my ex-wife's cancer as well as we did, and we started with the pandemic. Like, we basically leveled up. We became, you know, level warriors to deal with the world. But,
definitely.
But I'm at that point now. Okay, what's the next thing? Like, why did you give me these skills? I don't know what to do with them. Why did I have these experiences? Who knows? I don't know. I'm going to keep doing things like this, though. Keep doing social media and see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've met so many good friends through social media, through the internet, and we've all gathered together. I mean, with the voiceover community, that for one thing, that's an amazing community. Everyone's supportive. There's some ones that aren't, but they're, mainly supportive. And the creative community in general.
What I love about
one of the best communities to be in.
Yeah. What I love about your website is you had other recommended voice artists, and I love that because that's a non-scarcity kind of mindset. You're like, there's plenty of work for everyone, and if you don't want me, try these people.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not fit to everybody. You know what I mean?
Really?
I mean, especially. I mean, I think I looked at my Audible reviews a few times, and there's one book. It's got over 2,000 reviews on it, and 90% of them are positive.
Yeah.
So I think, but the 10% saying, "Oh, what an awful voice," and kind of thing. It's like, but it's taste, But as in, like, I don't feel, especially in the voiceover community, I don't feel I'm in competition with anybody. With myself, but not anybody else.
With compliments, I've got a book on Amazon, and I haven't had terrible. I've had a couple of 3-star reviews on the whole. But I think you need to hear positive comments 7 times as much as negative ones to balance it. And I
tend not to look at the negative ones.
I've just had to start wearing reading glasses, and I'm a bit vulnerable, kind of having to do that.
Yeah, I'm wearing. Last 2 years, I've had to wear reading glasses. Yeah.
So I've got, I think 5 people complimented me. I was, hey, they really suit you. Look really handsome. One person was like, oh, they're hideous. That's the only voice I've got in my head now.
You do that, don't you? It's you've got like one review that's saying what an amazing voice, the best voice I've heard on Audible and all that sort of stuff. No one down below, I can't stand that voice. It's awful. You know, it's like that's when you listen to.
Whenever I get stuff like that, I go to like my favorite author and find even like the greatest books or the greatest film in the world. There's some idiot giving it a 1-star review.
Oh, aye, definitely. Yeah, we're not alone.
It is so horrible that people were like, I'm actually going to spend some time to go out onto Amazon and throw some negativity out.
Yeah, what is the point? I've never known. Well, especially lately, I've never seen the point in actually doing that. What are you gaining for yourself?
Particularly with Audible, because I think it's like Kindle, isn't it? You can hear like 3 minutes of it for free, like a trial or something. So they've heard your voice.
And they went and bought it anyway.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, your problem, then.
It's been absolutely fantastic to speak.
It's been wonderful, yeah. I was gone quick.
Yeah, that's hopefully a good sign. And now I'll get all the show notes and stuff copied up, and we'll get this out on Anchor and YouTube, and I'm making it up as I go along. Basically, I'm trying not to be a perfectionist. I can't start a podcast.
I mean, things don't get done if you're perfectionist. I know that for a fact. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Darren.